Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today looking at the future of higher education.
In 2025.
Yeah, in 2025.
Big year.
Huge. It's going to be a big one. We've got some really interesting excerpts actually from this article called 2024 was tough for higher education. 2025 will be tougher.
Oh, yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, and it's pretty intense. I mean, the title's not getting around.
No, it's not sugarcoating anything.
Not at all.
So we're going to unpack some of the key challenges that universities and research are facing globally and...
Especially with all these
Yeah,
rightward political shifts happening in a lot of countries.
exactly. Yeah, there's a lot going on. But you know what's interesting is that the article talks about how, despite all these problems, a lot of people in academia are still optimistic.
Yeah, that's what I thought was so interesting. Like,
Right. What's going on?
why are they optimistic? What are they seeing that we're not?
So that's what we're going to try to explore today.
Yeah, it is a bit of a paradox.
It is.
The article calls it this whistling past the graveyard mentality.
Yeah.
You know,
Where everyone's kind of acknowledging the issues, but
downplaying.
yeah, downplaying how serious they really are.
Almost like if you don't look at it,
Yeah.
it might just go away.
Exactly,
Yeah.
hoping it'll just solve itself.
Right. And they point to actual examples of this. Like in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
the government is super pro-innovation.
Oh, yeah. Big on innovation.
But then they're making massive cuts to higher ed budgets.
That doesn't really track, does it?
No, it doesn't add up.
It's like they're saying innovation's important, but we're not going to invest in the very institutions that are driving it.
Exactly. And then there's the Bologna process, which is this agreement between 49 European countries to standardize higher education.
Right. To try to create some consistency.
Yeah, make things more comparable across borders and all that. And they're facing their own set of contradictions, too.
Yeah, you've got all these government ministers signing off on these big, ambitious academic goals.
Right, these high-minded ideals.
Yeah, exactly. And then their own countries are doing things that totally undermine those principles.
Undermining the very things they're agreeing to.
It's like they're not even on the same page.
That's a lot of mixed messages.
For sure. And then you've got what's happening in the U.S., which adds another whole layer to this.
Oh, yeah.
You've got politicians like J.D. Vance who are constantly bashing academia.
Yeah, always criticizing.
But then they're relying on all the advancements that come out of it.
Yeah. Where do they think the technology and healthcare breakthroughs are coming from?
Exactly. It's like they want the benefits without supporting the system that produces them.
It's a very strange position to take.
It is. It makes you wonder what message that sends.
Yeah, what message does that send to people within the system and to society as a whole?
Like if something's so vital and essential, but then all support for it gets ripped away.
Right. What does that tell us about how much we actually value higher education?
It's a good question.
And speaking of messages, it seems like the public is getting a pretty negative one these days.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, the article mentions this really alarming statistic about public confidence in higher ed.
Oh.
Particularly in the U.S.
Okay.
It's plummeted down to 36% in 2023.
Wow.
Which is a 12% drop from just 5 years ago.
That's huge.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if those mixed messages are actually having an impact on people's perceptions.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a lot of factors at play here.
Oh, absolutely.
This decline in trust isn't happening in a vacuum.
Right. It's not just one thing.
It's like a perfect storm of anxieties.
Yeah, you've got geopolitical tensions, economic worries with all the inflation, and then the rise of nationalism.
Yeah, it all feeds into this
Yeah.
sense of distrust towards institutions, and universities aren't immune to that.
No, not at all. And let's not forget about the elephant in the room.
Oh, you mean
Whole spread of
conspiracy theories?
yeah, conspiracy theories and fake news, especially online.
That's a huge factor. It really shapes public perception.
Absolutely. So it's a very complex landscape right now.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
It is. But before we dive deeper into that, I want to hear from you, the listener.
Yeah, what do you think?
Has your perception of higher education changed in recent years?
What have you noticed?
And what factors have played a role in shaping those views?
Let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
So the article goes on to outline 3 major challenges that higher education is facing in 2025 and beyond.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first is declining research and development investments globally.
Oh, yeah, funding is always an issue.
Yeah, and this isn't just like a small dip. We're
Right.
talking about potentially significant cuts.
Like across the board.
Yeah, the article gives some pretty eye-opening examples.
Like what?
Well, budget cuts in the Netherlands, they're just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
There's talk of potential cuts in other European countries, and the situation in the U.S. is a total question mark with the new Trump administration.
Yeah, that's a big unknown.
And even powerhouses like China and India are showing signs of a potential slowdown in R&D growth.
So it's not just limited to one region.
No, it's a global trend, which is pretty worrying.
Yeah, that's concerning.
And get this, the article sets projections that if these trends continue, research output in key scientific fields could drop by as much as 20% by 2030.
20%.
Yeah, we're talking a massive blow to progress on things like climate change solutions, disease prevention, and technological innovation.
It's like we're deliberately hindering our ability to solve these huge problems.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah, like we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
At the worst possible time.
Exactly.
And this has ripple effects beyond the immediate impact on research output.
Oh, absolutely.
It affects everything.
Yeah, speaking of ripple effects, the article's second challenge is around immigration policies,
Okay.
which actually ties into the R&D funding concerns quite a bit.
Oh, how so?
Well, we're facing this global shortage of skilled labor.
Right. Everyone's talking about that.
Yeah. But at the same time, many governments, especially in developed countries, are making it harder for skilled workers to immigrate and for international students to study.
So it's like a catch-22.
Exactly. We need these skilled workers, but we're making it harder for them to come here.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's totally counterintuitive.
The article highlights declining international student admissions in places like the US, Australia, Canada, the Netherlands, and the UK.
It's like we're saying we need you, but not really.
Yeah, it's a very mixed message.
And isn't that counterproductive?
Totally. I mean, we're talking about a global talent shortage, and then we're turning away the very people who could help us address it.
It's like we're choosing to limit our own potential.
It's a baffling contradiction.
It really is, and it makes you wonder what the long-term consequences of this approach will be.
Yeah, what happens when we shut the door on all this talent?
Are we setting ourselves up for a brain drain?
It's a real possibility. If highly skilled individuals are consistently being turned away or discouraged, they'll just go somewhere else.
And then what? We're left scrambling, trying to fill those gaps, and potentially falling behind in innovation and economic growth.
Exactly, and it goes beyond just economics.
Right.
Think about the impact on university diversity research collaborations and the free flow of ideas that drives progress.
It's like closing ourselves off from a whole world of perspectives and potential.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the third challenge the article highlights:
Okay, what's that?
the increasing strain on academic collaboration.
Interesting.
It seems like the global landscape of knowledge sharing is becoming increasingly fractured.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
The article cites a recent editorial in International Higher Education.
Oh, I read that one.
It really captures this shift that's happening.
Yeah, they were talking about how the focus is moving away from this idea of socially responsible internationalization towards a more nationalistic approach to higher education.
So instead of collaborating and sharing knowledge for the greater good, it's becoming more about protecting national interests.
Exactly.
That's concerning.
And the editorial raises some pretty big red flags about this trend.
Like what?
They're talking about increased political influence and even coercion in academic partnerships, concerns about intellectual property theft, and even something called ethics dumping.
Ethics dumping. What is that?
It refers to the practice of taking advantage of weaker ethical standards in certain countries.
So basically shopping around for the most convenient set of ethics.
Yeah. Essentially, research that might be considered unethical in one country could be conducted in another with less oversight.
That's pretty disturbing.
It raises concerns about accountability and the potential for exploitation.
Oh, sure.
And this ties into a broader trend highlighted in the Free to Think report by Scholars at Risk, which is another source we looked at for this episode.
Okay.
It's a sobering reminder that academics around the world are facing increasing attacks on their freedom and integrity.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about censorship, intimidation, even violence directed at those who dare to express dissenting views or conduct research that challenges the status quo.
That's really scary.
It is. It makes you realize how fragile academic freedom really is.
Yeah, we often take it for granted.
It's
As we're talking about all these challenges, the funding cuts, the restrictions on immigration, and the pressures on academic collaboration, it makes you wonder what happens when those doors start closing both physically and intellectually.
Yeah. If knowledge thrives on open exchange, what happens when we start putting up walls?
It's a crucial question.
It is, and it leads us to another significant factor that the article doesn't fully explore but is definitely worth discussing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
The elephant in the room, artificial intelligence and its impact on the future of higher education.
AI. It seems like you can't have a conversation about the future of anything these days without bringing up AI.
Right. It's everywhere.
It really is.
And for good reason, it has the potential to disrupt pretty much everything.
Yeah, and higher education is definitely not immune to its influence.
While the article acknowledges this potential, it also points out that the higher education community seems remarkably ill-prepared for the changes AI will bring.
It's like we're watching a tsunami approach. We're just standing there frozen.
Yeah, knowing it's coming but not sure what to do about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is where I think we need to turn to our listeners again.
Oh, good idea.
What do you think? How do you envision AI changing the way we learn and teach?
What are the potential benefits, and maybe even more importantly, what are the risks we need to be aware of?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on how this rapidly evolving technology will shape the future of higher education.
It's a conversation we need to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Wild West out there when it comes to AI and education.
For sure.
A lot of excitement, a lot of fear,
Yeah.
and not a lot of concrete guidance.
Right.
But it's a conversation we can't ignore.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
We're talking about a technology that could potentially revolutionize everything about higher ed,
Oh, yeah.
from how we teach and learn
Mm.
to how we conduct research
Right.
and even how universities are structured.
And that's where the real challenge lies, I think.
Okay.
It's not just about understanding how AI works. It's about anticipating and adapting to the changes it will bring.
And making sure we're harnessing its potential for good, not just implementing it without thinking about the consequences.
Exactly. Responsible AI.
Right. So how do we strike that balance? It feels like higher education is being squeezed from all sides right now.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We've got this rightward political shift, declining public trust funding challenges,
Mhm.
restrictions on immigration and collaboration, and now AI disruption.
It's a lot to grapple with,
A lot.
but I think it's important to remember that universities have always been at the forefront of change.
That's true. They've weathered a lot of storms over the centuries.
Exactly. Revolutions, paradigm shifts, you name it.
They've been at the heart of some of the most significant social and technological transformations.
And they've played a crucial role in shaping the world we live in today.
Okay, but let's be realistic. We're talking about some pretty fundamental shifts in the global landscape.
Sure.
It's not going to be easy, is it?
Of course not. It's going to require strong leadership, a willingness to embrace new ways of thinking,
Right.
and a commitment to collaboration, not just within academia, but across sectors.
So universities need to be working with governments, industry, civil society,
Everyone needs to be at the table.
to find solutions that benefit everyone.
Exactly. It's a collective effort.
But what about the students?
Oh, yeah, good point.
They're the ones who are going to inherit this future.
Right. They're the future.
What role do they play in all of this?
I think their voices are absolutely crucial.
Okay.
They're experiencing these changes firsthand.
They're on the front lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need to engage them in the conversation, not just as passive recipients of knowledge, but as active participants in shaping the future they want to see,
I love that idea.
empowering the next generation.
So let's talk about potential solutions.
Okay.
What concrete steps can be taken to address these challenges?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that higher ed not just survives, but thrives in this rapidly changing world?
Well, I think the first step is awareness. The more people understand the challenges, the more likely they are to support solutions.
So it's about making the case for higher education,
Yeah.
reminding people of its value,
Exactly.
not just in economic terms,
Right.
but also in terms of its contributions to society culture, human progress.
It's about the big picture.
But some might argue that appealing to policymakers in this current climate is kind of futile.
Yeah, I can see that.
How would you convince them that higher education deserves their support?
It's a fair point, and it won't be easy.
No.
But I think we need to remind ourselves and others why higher education matters.
Okay.
It's not just about churning out workers for the economy.
All right.
It's about cultivating critical thinkers, fostering creativity, nurturing the next generation of leaders, innovators, and informed citizens.
Those are the people who are going to be tackling the complex problems of the 21st century.
Exactly, and we need to equip them with the knowledge and skills to do so.
That makes sense. But let's not forget about technology, specifically AI.
Right, that's still looming.
How can we harness its potential while mitigating the risks?
It's a bit of a tightrope walk,
It does feel that way.
but I think it comes down to a multi-pronged approach.
Okay. I like it. Go on.
First, we need to invest in research to better understand AI's implications for education.
So not just blindly implementing it.
No, we need to go beyond the hype and develop a nuanced understanding of its potential benefits and risks.
I see.
Second, we need to establish ethical guidelines for its use in education,
Okay.
ensuring that AI is used responsibly, transparently, and equitably.
We can't just throw it into the classroom without thinking about the impact.
Exactly. And what about training and education for educators?
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Do we need to how we prepare teachers and professors for a world where AI is increasingly prevalent?
Absolutely. It's not enough to just tell them to use it.
Right.
We need to provide them with the training resources and support they need to integrate AI effectively into their teaching practices.
Okay.
And this goes beyond technical skills.
It's about helping them develop a critical understanding of AI.
Exactly. So they can make informed decisions about how and when to use it in their classrooms.
It sounds like we're talking about a pretty fundamental shift in how we think about teaching and learning,
Yeah, I think so. Almost like an educational renaissance.
a reimagining of what higher education should be in this rapidly changing world.
Exactly.
I mean, think about it. The jobs of the future might not even exist yet.
That's right. We need to be preparing students for a world we can't even fully imagine.
And I think we're already seeing signs of this transformation happening.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
The rise of online and blended learning models, a greater emphasis on experiential learning,
Uh-huh.
and a growing recognition of the importance of lifelong learning.
It's exciting to see those developments even amidst all the challenges.
It's like seeing the seeds of something new and hopeful beginning to sprout.
It speaks to the inherent dynamism and adaptability of higher education.
Higher ed's not a static institution.
No, it's constantly evolving and responding to the world around it.
And in a world that's changing faster than ever before, that adaptability is more crucial than ever.
Absolutely.
But these changes aren't going to happen overnight.
No, they'll take time, effort, and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
And a shift in mindset.
For sure.
We need to move beyond the doom and gloom narratives and embrace a more proactive and optimistic approach.
Focus on solutions, not just problems.
Exactly.
And most importantly, we need to work together
Yeah.
to create a future where higher education thrives.
And continues to play its vital role in shaping a better world.
That's the goal.
It's a powerful message and one that I think resonates deeply.
I hope so.
But before we get too carried away, I think it's time to bring it back to our listeners.
Okay, sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but we want to hear from you. Okay, so we've explored some pretty complex challenges facing higher ed today, right?
Yeah, we have.
Like we're talking everything from political pressures and that declining public trust to the impact of AI and, the whole changing landscape of research and collaboration. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. It's a lot to take in, but
It can feel overwhelming.
yeah. We don't want to leave you feeling overwhelmed, though.
No, definitely not.
It's important to remember that, awareness is the first step toward action.
Exactly.
By understanding these challenges, we can actually start to think critically about solutions.
Right, and contribute to the conversation.
Yes, about the future of higher education.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's recap some of the key takeaways.
Okay, good idea.
First, we talked about this whistling past the graveyard phenomenon, remember?
Oh, yeah, where everyone's kind of acknowledging the problems,
Right, but not fully grasping how serious they are.
hoping they'll just go away on their own.
Exactly. And we saw this play out in those examples from the Netherlands and the Bologna process.
Yeah, where governments are saying one thing and doing another.
Yeah, totally. A disconnect between words and actions.
Which seems to be impacting public trust.
Yeah, big time. The article pointed out that pretty significant drop in confidence in higher ed.
Especially in the U.S., right? It seems to be particularly pronounced there.
Mm.
And we explored some of the factors driving that decline, right?
Yeah, like the geopolitical tensions,
Yeah.
the economic anxiety,
The spread of misinformation.
all that stuff.
Yeah, the whole mix of things.
The perfect storm.
And then we dug into those three major challenges the article highlighted.
Yeah.
First, there's the issue of declining research and development investments globally.
Huge one.
Yeah, we talked about those potential budget cuts in several countries
Including the U.S.
and what that could mean for scientific progress,
In critical areas like climate change.
disease prevention.
All that.
And then the second challenge focused on that disconnect we were talking about.
Between the demand for skilled labor and the immigration policies.
Yeah, it's like a global demand for skilled labor,
Mm.
but then these increasingly restrictive immigration policies in a lot of developed countries.
Yeah, just doesn't add up.
No, it's a real head scratcher. And we talked about that potential for a brain drain.
If all those highly skilled individuals get turned away.
Yeah, and what that could mean for innovation and economic growth.
Right, because those folks will just go somewhere else
Exactly.
where they're welcomed.
And finally, we explore the increasing strain on academic collaboration.
With that shift away from socially responsible
Ah,
internationalization?
towards those more nationalistic interests.
Yeah.
And remember, International Higher Education editorial,
Oh, yeah.
they raised some concerns about political influence in academic partnerships.
Intellectual property theft,
Uh-huh. And even ethics dumping.
which is a whole other can of worms.
It really is. And we also touched on the Free to Think report.
Right, which highlighted those attacks on academic freedom.
It's a sobering reminder of how important it is to protect the free exchange of ideas.
Absolutely essential for knowledge creation and progress.
And of course, we couldn't end this deep dive without addressing the elephant in the room.
AI.
AI. It's everywhere.
It really is.
But we discussed its potential to really disrupt higher education.
In some pretty profound ways.
Yeah, from how we teach and learn to how we do research.
Even how universities are structured.
We also talked about approaching AI implementation in higher education with caution,
Yeah.
really emphasizing the need for more research
Ethical guidelines.
and training for educators.
So we can use AI responsibly.
Exactly.
Really?
Effectively. So where do we go from here?
Good question.
We've explored the challenges,
But to discuss some potential solutions.
but ultimately, the future of higher education is in all of our hands.
That's right.
It's up to us to engage in this conversation, to challenge assumptions, to ask those tough questions.
And to advocate for the kind of higher education system we want to see in the world.
Exactly. And remember, change starts with awareness.
By understanding what's happening,
Right.
we can start to envision a different future.
One where higher education thrives.
And continues to play its vital role in shaping a better world.
Absolutely. Well, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, challenged your thinking.
And maybe even inspired you to get involved.
Yes, in shaping the future of this really vital institution.
It's been a great conversation.
It has, as always, the journey of discovery continues.
Onward.
Thanks for joining us.